Category 34, Radio Newscast. Entry title, Air Force Radio News. Runtime, 5 minutes. Submitting organization, Defense Media Activity, Air Force Broadcasting Service. From the Air Force Broadcasting Service at Fort Meade, Maryland, this is Air Force Radio News. I'm Staff Sergeant Mike Hutchinson. Thanks for joining us. Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force James Cody met with airmen for the first ever Chief Chat. During the program, Chief Cody fielded questions from around the Air Force. One of the topics Chief Cody discussed was the importance of face-to-face communication.
And we run great risk when we leverage or rely too heavily on the social media aspects of how we can relay information. That does concern me that we're losing the connection, the human connection that we have as airmen. We care about each other and can help each other, but at the same time utilize and take advantage of all the mediums that are out there to keep our airmen informed, keep their families informed.
Master Sergeant Christopher Franklin, a first sergeant deployed to Southwest Asia, has taken the Chief's message to heart as he's come up with a unique approach to getting face-to-face time with his airmen on the flight line.
I said, I'm going to get a wagon. They're like, a what? I said, a wagon. I'm going to put a cooler on it. I'm going to walk around and give them cold drinks, icy pops if I can get them. They chuckled at me and they said, well, go buy you a radio flyer. So I get this wagon. In my first probably month here, I get that strange look. You know that one like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm bringing you a drink. Why? Why not? And I get stopped now, and I get, well, what was the concept behind it? And I tell them, I had the option of taking a van out here full of drinks. But still getting to know the people, still effective. I had the option of a golf cart. But do I look like I'm in a hurry when I am pulling a wagon? No. I look like I got time for these airmen to take the time. They're the ones out here maintaining and sweating.
I don't know what heaven's like, but it's got to be close.
You know, Gatorade or water? It opened it up. It opened that door. Everybody out here's got water. That wasn't needed. What it needed was some way to open the door of communication with these airmen. The wagon, it was just a key to unlock it.
This is Air Force Radio News. Air Force Chief of Staff General Mark Welsh III appeared on a cadet-run radio station at the U.S. Air Force Academy. During the program, General Welsh spoke on the importance of multi-role aircraft and their effect on the budget.
We have a future plan for the Air Force that we cannot afford. And the Department of Defense now, over the next 9.5 years, has to find $1.3 trillion in reductions to our planned budget. That's going to leave a bruise. So the Air Force put together some guiding principles for how we did our planning to reduce our part of that bill. And one of those guiding principles was if we have two platforms that can do the same mission, whether they can do it as well as each other isn't the point. If one of those platforms can do other things well, then if it comes down to a choice, we get rid of the single mission platform. It makes business sense to do it that way.
And multi-role aircraft aren't the only avenue the Air Force is exploring to help manage the budget. Tech Sergeant Nicholas Kurtz takes us to Altus Air Force Base, Oklahoma, where airmen came up with a cost-effective way to improve training.
That's the sound of an M203 grenade launcher.
Perfect.
It's a fairly new sound on Altus Air Force Base. You see, not long ago, Security Forces airmen here had no place nearby to train with these weapons. They had to drive all the way to Fort Sill, Oklahoma to use the range there. It was a costly and time-consuming process, and it didn't make much sense since all they really needed was a big open field. So, with a little coordination from some other base agencies, the Security Forces Squadron was able to convert an unused plot of land into their own grenade range. Now they can do this training, quite literally, in their own backyard.
It's ridiculous in the amount of time that it took to go just to Fort Sill 55 miles away and fire versus what it does to go down the block and fire.
Staff Sergeant Matthew Treadwell is the NCOIC of Combat Arms at Altus.
This range that we're sitting on right now was built with 100% recycled materials. Nothing out here costs us a dime, but we're saving on average about $1,500 in fuel prices annually every year. When you add in man hours, we're saving about 720 to 750 man hours a year, depending on how busy we are.
Now, by itself, that may sound like just a drop in the bucket, but in an every dollar counts culture, a little initiative to get things done smarter and cheaper can go a long way towards helping the Air Force face today's budgeting realities. Tech Sergeant Nicholas Kurtz, Altus Air Force Base, Oklahoma.
November marked the final reunion of the Doolittle Tokyo Raiders. We had the chance to sit down with retired Colonel Richard Cole, General Doolittle's co-pilot for the raid, as he reflected on the end of an era.
I will be hopeful that it's an inspiration to young people, keeps alive their interest in aviation, the military, and I think it's time that we ride off into the sunset.
From the Air Force Broadcasting Service at Fort Meade, Maryland, I'm Staff Sergeant Mike Hutchinson, Air Force Radio News.